Yeah.
Yes!
Let's.
Sorry, I got a lot of accessories.
No, I see that. I see that. But save it for the official interview. So I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1, and then we'll go for real.
Oh, I thought you were recording.
I am recording now, and maybe
okay.
I can chop it in.
Oh,
but
go.
Welcome to Making Magic with Sean J. I'm your host, Sean J., and this is my first episode number 1. This is all about inspiring interviews with the movers, the shakers, the innovators, and the makers, pulling back the curtain to reveal the wizards behind the scenes that make the magic for you. And when I was putting together this whole show, I thought, what would be the perfect ideal guest to kick off the show? And one man came to mind. The man I'm about to introduce to you, he's Mario the Maker Magician. He's a family performer with a one-man show full of original magic, homemade robotics, and punk rock slapstick. Mario has appeared on Sesame Street, NBC's Universal Kids, and live on tour with the magician David Blaine, who calls him the best kids magician in the world. I don't think you can get a better quote than that. Mario is also the author of the Maker Magician's Handbook, a beginner's guide to magic and making, and the creator of beginner robotic magic kits. And his Penguin Live lecture won the 2020 Lecturer of the Year. That's also pretty incredible. This guy is nothing short of amazing, and I'd like to introduce to you now the one and only Mario the Maker Magician. Here he is.
Thank you so much for having me on, Sean. This is awesome, dude.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I thought.
And I'm the first guest. I am the first guest. All right, if I'm the first guest of the show, sorry, I got to get the big horn.
Okay.
Okay, good. Got it out of the
Ta-da!
way. Thank you so much.
Get it out of your system. This is good. This is so cool. So Mario, your story is very interesting. And when I created the show, I wanted to kick off the show with a very unique story, because everybody wants to know everybody's story. That's what makes you you. So I thought, since we're talking about creative ideas and making, can you share with us your story of the very first thing you made or invented? And it can be good or bad, and funny stories are always welcome. So think about that for a moment. Just, what was the first thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it goes back to like early childhood, 4 or 5 years old. My mom is awesome. We used to do this thing where after she would wash the dishes. She's, very Italian American. I'm first generation American, so I grew up in a very Italian home. And, she cooks all this food, and then she washes all the dishes. It's like this huge production,
Right.
And then everything is like cleaned up. And she used to just take me and we sit at the kitchen table, and she would put an object at the center of the table, and we would both try to draw it as best as we possibly could. And it was so much fun. And it was just like a sacred time, but it was an introduction to me of like art, and of making and of using your imagination, and expressing yourself, And so from that little thing, I always think about that. It's almost like she like kind of planted this little new beginning for me.
The creativity
I fell in love
seed.
with art. What's that?
The seed of creativity.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know what she was thinking at the time, but for me, this was a special thing. I remember getting a little drawing book and trying to draw cartoon characters and stuff. But it did start the road, and I always loved making. So like later on in life, I had an amazing teacher. Her name was Miss Ranello, and it was senior year in high school, and she talked about art and how it is possible to make a living doing art, which sounded so insane to me, because I grew up, in a home where it's just like work is hard, and making money is hard and all this stuff. And the idea of art as a living just sounds so foreign, but it really hit me hard, you know. And I learned about Andy Warhol, you know, and I learned about Alexander Calder. You know, I learned about all these artists that left an impression on humanity. And Basquiat, you know, Jean-Michel Basquiat, like all these amazing people that all have a different, like you said, story, and that kind of really set the stage for me to really pursue, you know, what my story is creatively, you know, and from there, you know, man, it's like I'm always making, you know.
It seems to be that way. And do you happen to actually? Yeah. How old were you when you were introduced to those artists? Do you remember?
16, and you know, and what's crazy is my first job was at a flower shop, and I started with like, you know, like clipping flowers, cleaning flowers. But then the owners of the shop, small family business, was teaching me how to arrange a dozen roses and how there's a certain way to arrange them in a vase. You know, like
technique,
how to utilize the space correctly with the height of each rose, and what is the filler that goes in between, and what are the colors that are pleasing to the eye. It sounds silly, but like these are like foundational principles of like you know, just like with a song, I was talking earlier to someone else, like there's certain melodies that are timeless, you know, because for some reason there's something that attracts us to it. It hits a chord, and it's the same with art too. You know, there's certain things, you know, like even with floral design. I fell in love with floral design. Like I was 16, 17, working at the flower shop. Then I get introduced to like other mediums of art, and then it was like punk rock music, you know, like you just start dyeing your hair, you know, doing all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's just, you know, it's important to stay flexible with your creating and always trying new things. You know, that's what I'm trying. Yeah.
First thing idea you created, and you're like, I had this idea, and then I put it together and made it.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, that's a very.
And it could be good or bad, or you know, something really basic. It doesn't matter. You know, I thought that was interesting about the flowers. Something that people would normally overlook ends up helping you later on in your career, which is really cool. I love those kind of things.
Yeah, that's true. I think definitely first, like invention wise, you know, I think getting into floral design in my teen years, that was my first creative job, getting paid. I just loved the idea of like that I'm making something and then I'm getting paid for what I made, and it's something creative where I get, like, I loved it. Like you get this cube of like green oasis foam, and then it's like up to you of what you imagine, what you're sticking in, the designs, the lines of each flower, you know, and filler and stuff like that. So that was a very exciting time for me. It's funny you say that, now that I'm talking about it, I never really thought of it like that, but it really was this like beginning of really trying to invent, because there's a freedom in floral design. It's not like, you know, like, you know, when you cook or something, there's a freedom there too, but you really have to like, or maybe, you know what? Let me take that back. This is interesting. But yeah, I think any job you have has a creative angle to it, you know? And for me, it was floral design. I think that's what I'm trying to say. That was my first introduction to it. And then from there, just making stuff. I mean, I made a cigar box guitar. I never built anything before. That was powerful for me when I plucked the strings. You know, I made puppets out of wood. You know, I carved a whole series of puppets and marionettes. I never built them before. That was like, that's what makes, you know, for me, that was what was exciting. Like, I wanted to cut hair randomly when I was 19, so I cut people's hair. I butchered them. I made them terrible. But I learned how to cut hair. There's an art form there. You know?
It sure is. Yes.
Yeah. So like all that stuff for me, it's it's just about chasing your curiosity. You know.
I think So I think what you're saying here, there's like a basic core concept that just followed you around in everything that you did, and you found like in everything that you did, whether it was floral design or hair cutting, you always took that from a creative angle. Am I correct for saying that?
Definitely. Yeah, totally well said. Like, and I think that's one of the things that's always stuck with me since I was young. I hate the idea of like being labeled as this one thing, like, well, this person's just a teacher, you know, or this person just makes pizza. Like that stuff bothers me so much. And for me, it's like, if I want to learn something, I don't care. Like I'm going to do everything in my power to learn it. We live in a time with education that like the traditional paths of education is not the only way to get educated. My son is 6 years old. He can solve a Rubik's Cube in 1:23 seconds. He's at 3 weeks that we've been doing it every day. You know, like these are life skills. It's not about like, oh, it's a Rubik's Cube. Well, that's not education. Yes, it is. It's about sticking to something, learning multiple algorithms, not giving up, watching him get frustrated and looking at him and should I intervene or let him suffer a little? No, let him get through it and watching him overcome. And then when he finally solved it the first day, dude, he ran around this house screaming.
Yes.
Screaming. It was the best noise, you know? Because I know how frustrating that is. And that for me is the symbol of why when I'm interested in something, I'm going to create. And I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to fail. But for me, it's the journey, man, you know? It's the journey. That's what's exciting to me.
Yes. So yeah, I think what you're saying is, just to reflect, it's like a mindset. Because I think if you were a different person, or let's just say you had a different mindset, if you took those beginning jobs that you had, an interest, at face value, and a very shallow look at it, people could never make that gap. If you were thinking shallow, you could say, oh, well, I'm arranging flowers. Yeah, it's just another job to make some money and sell some flowers. Or, oh, well, I want to try something different. You know, I'm getting bored with flowers, so I'm just going to cut hair. You know, that's the shallow way of looking at these things. But if you have the mindset, it's a great mindset that you have. Everything that you went to, you're like, oh, this is another way to exercise my creativity. I get to mess with people's hair as my canvas. Or I get to, adjust the height and the location and the color of the flowers. That's another creative outlet. And I think a lot of people need to understand that and let that sink in, because like you said, it sounds simple, but it's the mindset of taking a simple thing, a simple task that you do, and seeing the creative possibilities within that task or within that job, as mundane or as simple as it may seem. Okay, so we got
makes sense. Yeah.
We got so you would count that as your first thing, making the flower arrangements, I guess that would.
I think so.
Okay.
I think that was and you know why? It's because I was getting paid too.
Gotcha.
And there was this pressure, and then there was this reward, you know.
Gotcha.
It's funny because on late nights when the boss would leave and it would just be some of the floral designers, they would let me grab a bunch of wire and cardboard, and I would twist sculptures, you know, and they loved it. Like they allowed me to do that, and I look back on it, I was like, damn, man, that was so cool of them, you know, to let me just constantly, you know, to have that flexibility, you know.
Got it. Okay, and was this kind of piggybacks on that question, and you may have already answered it. Do you remember a clear-cut reason why you made it? What was the driving force behind making it? Was it because they gave you the freedom to do it, or was it something else that was driving you to make it?
No, it's a great question. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I've been thinking about it as I was talking to you. I like the challenge, man. You know,
okay.
And you know, one of my favorite magicians is Aussie Wind. You know, and he's like that. He's got this competitive spirit that it's what creates greatness. It's what creates greatness. It's that I'm sticking to this thing until it's solved kind of thing. And I met him when I was 22, 23, no, maybe 24 at Phantasma Magic at a lecture. Okay. And I saw that passion in him early on. It was you could tell he's going places, you know? Yeah. And for me, that's why the Rubik's Cube is important for Bear, you know, to that kind of thing. And I'll tell you why I'm bringing that up is because someone said to me, man, you're carving wood, Mario. Man, you know what? My dream is to carve a chess set. And I was like, damn. I was like, I'm going to carve a chess set, you know? And I had no idea what I was getting into. It took months, you know? Yeah. But it was all because I just wanted to show this guy when I see him, look what I made. And he was like, holy, you know, wow. And just his look on his face that he saw each piece. But that's what it is for me. It is that kind of challenge of while everyone's doing their daily lives, I want to be on the offbeat, working hard on something. So I have something always to show, you know? And I think a lot of magicians are like that. you're practicing on the down low so that when you show up to these, these kind of general meetings or things, you have this powerful thing. Come on, you're like that, Sean, too.
Yes.
You got these secret weapons that
Yes.
like you've been working on.
Yes.
And that's what makes you get onto Masters of Illusion and have all this great success, yeah, it's part of that. Part of it is that, definitely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so we're on the same page there. Okay. And okay, then you answered my next question, which was going to be what did you learn from making it? And I think we can agree that it was the importance of tackling challenges in life. That's kind of the core concept, right?
Yeah, and also what's really beautiful about making something is that when you learn something new, you gain this confidence, and that's a big reason why I do this, is the kids that are watching. Like, everything is super accessible. Like, I have a kit with it's called the Chomper Bot kit. It's built with the box that it ships in, It's super
awesome.
Forgiving,
That's
like,
awesome.
you can make mistakes with it. But the beauty is that the microcontroller comes with it. You can add to it, and you can do a magic trick with it too, And for me, it's about, sparking that kind of imagination. You're learning a foundational principle of magic. You're learning a foundational principle of technology, but now you can express creatively and expand if you're inspired by it, and that's how I view my magic show too. Like, I want that to be kind of the goal,
Yeah, I'm sure you inspire so many kids, and especially with the way your stuff is made, it looks to be so accessible, and it looks to be forgiving because it's made with what appears to be very commonly found items. And it's just like, kids look at that and they go, oh, wow, I didn't know that I could make this out of just chopping up some piece of cardboard and hot glue. And
that's
wow.
Exactly it. That realization is what is the whole reason, because everything I've learned after high school has been non-traditional, So like robotics, I never went to a robotics school or like engineering college. Like, it was me because I just got obsessed with it, So like that idea is for me is like what I want to kind of like pass the relay to is like, dude, you can do this, like I'm not smart, I'm just passionate, like.
Yep. So people say that when they ask me, they're like, "Oh, well, how do you create original material X, Y?"
Yeah.
You must be smart. And I say, "No, I'm not smart." I say the exact same thing that you say. I say, "I want to do the thing so bad. I want to like make whatever, or I want the final outcome to be whatever so bad that I'm willing to just, go through all the different possibilities until I hit it." And that's
it's like, I love that like thing you're doing with Rocco with the little bunnies. They're so cool.
Thank you.
That stuff is killer. These little visual things, like, it's because it shows that you keep relevant. Like you're always creating. You're popping with new things. So it's been a fun challenge during these times.
Yeah, well, that was a COVID project basically. It was a thing where I'm, doing all this. I've always been a creative person. Even when I was a kid, before I got even involved in magic, I would do drawing. I would do pencil and paper drawings, and I wanted to do realistic drawings. Yeah. And so I would, I'd be sitting in class drawing other people, drawing things on the desk, drawing my hand like M.C. Escher, and then I got into comic books, and then I would draw Spider-Man and Superman. And it was just a love for detail. I was always like really detail oriented, and that just passed on to the magic, and now I'm just like OCD about detail. And when it comes to that finished effect, you start to just really, the gears turn in your head, and you're just like, how can I make this? And then the thing with Rocco was like, okay, I'm doing this 3D design work. How can I do some kind of collaboration, help somebody, we help each other, and let's make something positive out of a negative. And
it's beautiful.
I feel that we did that, and I appreciate the compliment on that project.
It's really cool. It's very cool.
So so knowing, clearly you have more. I think you got into doing this type of stuff way earlier than I did, and knowing what you know right now, what would you wish you would have told your younger self earlier to prevent the mistakes that you make now? Or made today, or made in the past?
It's a heavy question. I think for me, like, I grew up in a home that was very faith-based, you know, and my mom was, you know, she read me a lot of Bible stories, you know, every
Really?
day, you know.
Okay.
Yep. A lot of like, and talk about core principles, like we talk about core principles of magic, core principles of technology. There are core principles of truth, you know, of life, you know, in a lot of these like major religions, you know, like they're major for a reason, you know, because there's these core principles that we all know, you know, like the golden rule, like something as simple as that, you know, like these things exist. These are core principles, you know, and you know, for me, I think, and the reason why I bring it up is if there's some regret, I think I just wish I trusted more in my story, you know, early on, you know, like I've trusted always in my gut, and I've always, but then there's always like this self-doubt, you know, that we all face as artists, as humans, you know, and like, but I really believe that like if you wake up in the morning and you wake up thankful and you force yourself, you know, like when we're kids, you're naturally happy, you know, if you're in a safe environment. When you're an adult, it's like you have to point to where happiness is when you wake up and focus on it, or else you're going to lose it, you know, like that's what happens, you know. And so like if we wake up and we do that and we start being grateful and we start focusing on these core principles of truth, like the golden rule, stuff like that, you know, what happens is I really believe there's a give and take with the universe, you know, where like there's a foundation under your feet that's a little bit stronger than it was the day before, you know. And I think a lot of great people that are really successful, I think they have a great confidence in themselves, you know. And I think that's something, the earlier we can teach kids to believe in themselves, man, the greater the next generation of humans are going to be, you know? And I think that's a big part of why my stuff is made of cardboard and tape and not a gold is silver, you know? And so like, that's part of the story for me. It's like, I wish I could have emphasized it more early on.
So meaning you feel like there are a lot of things early on you took for granted and you weren't grateful for? Maybe?
Yeah, like my teeth. You know?
Okay.
Like I didn't brush them. I was like,
oh, no.
You know, when you're 19, it's like you're a rock star, you know? No, of course I brushed them, but I'm saying, you know, you think you're like invincible, you know what I mean? You're invincible, you know, you can, you know, they're going to fall out if you don't clean them, you know, like these kind of things. No, but seriously, in all seriousness, I think it's just about, you know, I think a few things. Confidence in myself. I think that's the biggest regret that I have. I wish earlier on I had more confidence in myself, and it's just something that I instill in my kids every night before I turn the light off, you know, and I tell them how amazing they are, you know, because it's important.
Yes.
Because from someone hearing that they're amazing at a young age like that,
yes,
that's what's going to give them the confidence to stand up to a room of people who disagree with them. That's what's going to give them the confidence to follow their gut every single time they hear the word no with the story they're trying to create. That's where it comes from. It starts there, you know?
It does.
So
it starts.
For me, it's like, you know, the battles that we face growing up, you know, these are the victories that we have to bring to the next generation of kids, you know? And so there's definitely, for me, has been the confidence thing, which is normal. We all have weaknesses as humans, you know.
Sure, of course.
And there's people that, you know, like, you know, that's how, but that's how it is. So it's a heavy question. Sean, you're gonna ask me heavy questions. You're gonna get heavy answers, man.
No, that's what I want, man. I want your heavy answer. I want your passion to come out, man, because that's why I have you here, man. Because you're on fire, and I like it. That's what I want. It's good.
No, I love these questions. These are great questions. You know, this is the kind of stuff I vibe on, you know?
I enjoy having intelligent conversations with other smart, creative people. That's why I started this show. Consider yourself in good company. I heard of somebody say, have you heard this? This is a funny, just a silly thing, because you talk about your teeth. You know, I heard somebody say, ignore your teeth and they'll go away. Literally. Like,
I'm living that sentence out. I am living that. I love it. I love that. I'm going to have to take that. I'm going to have to put it on my Twitter or something. That's a great quote. I love that line.
It's great. You know what? I'll give credit, and I don't know if this is originally his, but I do remember who first said it, and I just thought it was so funny, and I just thought it was just something silly. Jeff McBride who likes you a lot, who wanted me to say hello to you. By the way, he's a big fan of your work as well.
He's a freaking legend. Yeah.
Freaking legend. His brother, Clay McBride, who's a freaking legend photographer, he said something once. He made a post about that, and I was like laughing for days because at face value I didn't quite get it, but then I was just like, this is actually really funny. It's like, anyway, ignore anything.
It's great.
Right? Ignore anything and it'll go away. Anything.
That's it. Yeah, you nailed it.
Pay attention to those things that you want to keep, like your dignity, like your teeth, like your like the confidence. Don't ignore confidence.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here. Tell us about something that you recently made. Now I know that's an easy one for you, and you may even have something just sitting around on your desk maybe that you recently made.
Do you want to see a video really quick of something I recently made that I'm super passionate about?
Let's do it.
Check this out.
Let's do it on screen. This is so cool, guys. So good. So good. Dude. Man. Come on. And then, come on. Come on. Dude.
Oh, man. 7.5 days for 43 seconds.
No, that would take me like 7.5 years to wrap my head around that.
Oh man, but this is the stuff I'm super excited about right now in my life.
Yes.
You know, part of the blessing of this whole pandemic has been it's really pushed me out of my comfort zone. This video, I made it like a week ago, and I'm working on some fun new projects I can't talk about yet, but that hopefully will come out in the fall. And this is kind of part of it a little bit. I'm like teasing it. But dude, like I'm excited because that hits over 700,000 views on Facebook. That I've never had a video do that in my life. You know, everything has always been, so it's been real exciting to do that, you know. So but yeah, so that's what I've been building is robots that I'm not even in the picture. So it's just the robot does everything.
It's the thing. You know? It's just another character in your show, basically, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's its own character. It's this cardboard, nonchalant, like really catch you off guard, like set your expectations really low.
Yes!
Like you know, within the first, you know, people make impressions within the first 5 seconds.
Yes.
And you know, like if somebody doesn't know your work and they see that, like they turn around and they go, yeah, that's okay for the kids, and then it's like doing a friggin' Matrix. And it's like
you nailed it.
It's like taking Eric Chen and Shin Lim's job away. It's like it's a little cute little robot. It's like, but boom, and you got assemblies and it backfires and jumbo coins, and it's like, no, stop it. So.
Oh man, yeah. So like it was fun, man. It was fun, and like I have a couple. So that robot, I have a couple videos of him doing different routines. So the idea for me creatively is like, I have this robot and it has a lot of limitations, but what magic can I create within those limitations, you know?
Yes.
So it's been really fun testing that out. And so that's Automabot. That's Automabot. My wife jokingly named it once and I was like, wow, then that's what we're calling it.
I think that's perfect. I think
it's little Automabot.
it's the modern day miracle, accessible, you know, catch you off guard kind of stuff. I love it. I love it because it accomplishes a lot. You know, as a magician, it catches people off guard right off the bat, and then it incorporates your skills and your passion, which I love too. And and it's just really visual. So, dude, that's incredible.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much.
Incredible. Let me see. Can I share with you something that I made recently?
Yes, please.
Okay. Recently. I mean, well, this actually isn't recently. Well, actually, yeah.
Okay, get something else. Get something else. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have I have this thing that I made here. There we go. I actually use this in my show.
Blackstone, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a thing I designed, 3D designed, and I printed it out, and I made it, you know, added some multimedia to it to turn it into, you know, like a tribute piece.
I love
and
it.
then what I did was I said, you know, instead of just me hanging this on the wall, what can I do to, you know, incorporate this into my show? So I started setting it up on, just like leaning it up against something, and then I was like, this needs a better solution. So I custom designed a stand for it.
Nice. Oh, it's beautiful.
That just, you know, has a little piece that connects this, because I got tired of the silly thing falling over. And, you know, it's such a nice piece, and I didn't want it to get damaged. There you go. So it
beautiful. Like, wow. All 3D design, all 3D printed. Great.
Yep. And it just sits right in there, and it's
beautiful.
Boom. And it's like a frame piece, breaks down for travel.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a little.
So what program did you use? Did you use Tinkercad or something?
I use Tinkercad for some things. I use Fusion for other things.
Nice.
Some of my more elaborate design projects I use Fusion, and
that's amazing, dude.
That's like my forte. I'm not good at everything, but that's like the one thing I really nailed down. Like I love 3D design and I love 3D printing. I love it.
Awesome, dude.
Love it. So yeah. So what would you say? Speaking of, you know, different techniques and things, what would you say? What maker techniques are your favorite, or you consider yourself the best at, that you like to do the most?
I love. I mean, I love servo motors a ton, you know, because they're super cheap, they're accessible, you can do so much with them. I love microcontrollers so much. Like I said, Arduino, you know, they're one of those life-changing moments for me when I first started learning how to program, and it was very frustrating, you know, when I first started, because it was like early on where like there was no community to like bounce, you know, like there was no forums. I remember dreaming at night of like broken code and the color red on numbers and letters, like nothing's compiling, you know. Nothing. But you know, it's like I said with Bear learning the Rubik's Cube. It's like that was my mountain, you know. And then it took a couple years, but when you really love something, you know, and you're having fun and you have this goal that you can clearly see, you know, it's a powerful thing, man. You know, it's just like you with 3D designing stuff. Like you have specific goals and you see the fruit of your labor, like your Blackstone piece, you know, when
Visually.
you hold that and you take it apart, you made that, you know, from your brain, you know, it's powerful, you know.
It's
that's what I'm trying to do with kids, you know. It's the same thing, because this stuff is accessible. Tinkercad's free. If you have an internet and a computer, you know, 3D printers, you can get them for like $200 now, you know. If you search, you know. So
you can.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, definitely 3D printing, like that's what I do like during my lectures, is like, you know, 3D design, 3D print, and then animate what you print. You know, these are powerful superhero tools that can change your game, whatever medium you're in. You know, even if you're a floral designer, you could add window displays, you know, you can do so much, you know.
Yes. It's all empowering stuff. It's all very customizable, and it's great. It's great. Okay. So clearly you're good at servos and programming, judging by that bot just blowing minds.
He's got a mind of his own, that robot.
And just that robot does other things as well, right? It's like the same robot.
Yeah, I have other videos. I could show you if you want. If not, you could see them on my Facebook page. I'm MarioTheMagician.com. I'm liking this vibe where I like the limitations and trying to see what I can use within those limitations instead of changing the robot or building a new one. It's been a fun challenge for me, you know.
Yes. And are there any like maker techniques or things that you're excited about learning now, like just in the future, like you got your mind set on?
Yeah. I think, you know, I got my first book published. It's like a really big deal for me, and I'm hoping to write a second book, you know, and I have, you know, like the Penguin Lecture has been a powerful experience for me, like showcasing all the robotics on my theater show, you know, stage show. And, but yeah, I definitely want to create more. I'm just having fun building stuff. You know, I got all kinds of crazy things always, you know, trying to deliver things to me. What are you doing there? Magic Wand delivery service. Here we go. So you can catch it. There we go. Got it. Okay, fantastic.
Got the sloth bot. Dude.
The sloth bot, that's right. But yeah, I think it's just about, speaking of Rocco, I heard that Rocco said this once, and I don't know because I have to ask him, but apparently Rocco said, when you're green, you grow, and when you're ripe, you rot. And I love that line so much.
Yes.
And if there's anything we've learned during this pandemic is how to stay green, like jumping onto Zoom, doing these kind of things that you're doing here, where you're creating new podcasts. You know, I want to just stay green, you know?
He did say that. He also has another one that he says, winners never quit and quitters never win. He says that all the time.
Love it. Rocco.
He's
no joke. He is no joke.
He's in the ring and still punching and still fighting, and he's very inspiring on many levels. He's one of those grandmaster kind of legend types.
Yeah, he's a great example of like what you can achieve in this art form. You know, I mean,
he's so creative.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just like took a jacket apart, and it's kind of like, how much stuff can I do with one jacket?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. Exactly, like the limitations. Like that jacket is so limited to normal people, but he was like, "No, I'm going to use this.
Use everything.
And innovate. You know?
Everything in the jacket. I'm going to like occupy everything, right?"
Well, that's 100%.
Yeah, and then you with the cardboard, it's like, okay, I've got cardboard. How much of this cardboard can I use? And rather than focusing on, oh, it's cardboard, I need better materials. No, you're the other way around. That's what I think is so cool about that mindset.
No, totally, man, totally. And that's that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And if we can teach kids that, that's powerful, man. You know?
Yeah. Okay, now is there something? We talked about like the very beginning with the floral design. Is there something? Let's say, think back to something that you made for your show, like when you had an early version of your show. Is there something that you would consider a favorite thing that you made during the early version of Mario the Maker that you can think of?
I won't. So in my Penguin lecture, if you haven't seen it, you know, Penguin Live, go to penguinmagic.com, you'll check it out. The opening of my show is I have these banners that appear, signs that say Mario the Magician, world's greatest magician, you know, flags that come up, and then everything falls apart, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, that was like my first intro to incorporating the love of robotics into my magic show. And I was inspired by the great Kaplan, you know?
Yes.
Talk about people that like, I love so much.
Yes.
Like everything he does. Talk about timing and like just everything.
Yes.
Like he's like, I'm so jealous of you, the great Kaplan, because he doesn't speak, you know, but like
That's
all
right.
this magic happens. And but anyway, that he has one of his opening effects is like a banner that opens, and then as he speaks later on, the banner like side, you know, it kind of falls a little to the side.
Yep.
That when I saw that moment, my mind exploded. I was like, that is a kid's slapstick genius routine. So I just kind of like got inspired by that, and then I just made my own version where it just fit my style. But originally, you know, that's who inspired me. And in my Penguin lecture, you'll see the whole thing. I'll show you the inside of my case and all that. But it was a great feeling, man. Like when it finally started working.
Yeah.
To do something where you make people laugh and they get inspired, and it's something you created. You know, like that's crazy. You know?
Yes. Just came out of your mind and you just piece it together. Yeah. I remember the first thing that I officially created with the design and 3D printing skills. I remember it used a Creality CR10. That was my first 3D printer, and so interesting story. You know Mike Michaels?
Yeah.
Mike Michaels is an amazing builder in the magic community. He builds. He seems to more focus on like really big stuff, big stuff for the stage. That it's just amazing. You know, each one is its own art piece. He many years ago heard that I was working on an act involving time manipulation, time travel, and I had made a very basic, crappy like out of foam and like pasting stickers on like these pocket watches. It was just really, and like Gorilla Tape. It was just really bad. It was so bad. It looked nothing like a pocket watch. I showed it to him, and he made me an amazing version out of wood. It was like all CNC'd and painted, and it was like a really nice version. And he said, you know, he offered to, I came out there, he said, you know, you could do like a little intern with me and you can help build the inner electronic parts that make things light up. And that just blew my mind.
That's amazing.
And then, so when I got back home from that trip, what inspired me was I had these things for a while and I was like, shoot, what's going to happen? You know, because this is a one-of-a-kind thing that he made for me. What's going to happen if I drop it, which I'm eventually going to drop it?
Right.
You know, the paint chips off, or what if the thing breaks inside the mechanism that I helped and he showed me how to make. So I was like, I need to make backups of these, but I don't have a CNC machine. I know nothing about woodworking, and I'm too impatient to paint something. So I was like, let me take this thing that he made and let me teach myself how to do this 3D design. And I made my own total 3D design replica of what he originally made me in wood. And I made my first backups that were 3D designed, 3D printed, and they reside in a little box just over off to the side here as an emergency. Like if all else fails, I could just crack that box open and I got my backups. And that's how my journey into all that began. And I've just been designing and 3D printing ever since. And now I'm doing, you know, custom designs for like not only magicians, but like product designs for, you know, people who are dreaming these ideas in their heads and then just need help getting them out. So that's kind of, and yeah. So here's a good one. What is the biggest, in your experience, just over the whole time you've been doing this, what's your biggest DIY fail of all time that you can remember? But again, all these things aren't even fails, right? They're supposed to be learning experiences, but you know, like a big catastrophe that happened.
I don't know. That's a good question. I've had many DIY fails.
I'm sure you have.
I always say, like, most of this stuff, like, that I perform with, like, I spend more time like repairing them than performing with them, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, I've had times where things don't work, you know? I remember specific times, you know, I was talking to, you know, I always say this story, but like where I've done gala shows at conventions where like I plug in my little lamp and it just does not turn on.
Ooh,
like,
that's brutal.
You know, like,
yeah.
And like the lights are burning on me, like the audience is waiting.
Yeah.
But over the years, you learn, like I have backups, you know, I don't have the same lamp, but I'll do a different routine, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll have to do something that's just a classic, like I'll have to grab rings and do like a Whit Hayden 4-ring routine, or like grab like, I don't know, just something. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun, you know? That's part of the fun. I have robots here that, for my Zoom show, like this little guy's called the Hungry Monster, and he's cool. Like he finds a card, his mouth opens up, his eyes pop open. But sometimes the relay gets stuck, you know, like on Zoom. I fixed it now. I had to put a diode in because something was overriding. But long story short, it has a card fountain. I was literally using my thumb as a card fountain, like shooting cards out to get it done. But dude, isn't that what's amazing about live theater? You know, when you see Broadway shows and live productions, you watching how people get through their mistakes is what defines a great performer, you know?
Yes, and sometimes I would argue that the way that the performer gets through the mistake is oftentimes more entertaining than the actual finale.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Because it's like, you know, you said you had to use your thumb, so everybody's like waiting, and then you just go, and then you just start.
It's like, here, let's just do the card fountain. Here it is.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like when people start, they let that they just get run over by it. They go, wait, guys, we gotta stop. I gotta fix this. So everybody's gonna wait now, right? Like everybody has that time for you to get out the soldering iron and fix it. No, you figure a workaround. I had something. This was just something that happened last year. I was supposed to film this for Masters of Illusion. I have something that you'll be seeing this season of Masters of Illusion. Thankfully. It uses electronics. I took it all the way out there. I thought I had all my checks and things run. It worked like up until the day before I brought it there. 2 hours before I was supposed to go on, scheduled that day, I started testing. The thing broke. The stupid thing broke. And it was, I was all stoked. They wanted to see it. I couldn't do it. And I had to just say, look, guys, I don't want to waste your time. This thing is broken. I'm going to try for the next 2 hours to fix it.
Yeah.
I couldn't fix it.
Oh, man. It happened.
And what happened, it was one simple thing. It was one simple little stupid wire that had a kink in it. And the wires were too thin. They were just way too thin. And,
yeah, it happens.
And it's just one little broken wire that I couldn't even see, messed the whole thing up. So when I got back, I rebuilt everything with much more, I learned about durability and making your props durable. And can you believe, Mario, I went all the way out there without a repair kit?
Ooh.
Yep. So that was stupid mistake.
This is how you learn.
Stupid mistake number 2. And now I have portable soldering iron, all that stuff. I learned from my dumb mistake. So yeah, oh man, your lamp thing is so cool, and for that just not to work, that must be so frustrating.
Yeah, it's devastating, but I mean, it happens,
Because that's like a feature routine in your show, right?
I know. I mean, honestly, I've had Marcel break a lot more because Marcel, I have this robot monkey, but he's very animated. So like,
yes.
One time I was in, where was I? In the Twin Cities. I did a show a year and a half ago, and Marcel went to pick up the ball, and then he fell, like forward flip.
Oof.
And just mashed on his shoulder, and his whole arm was gone, like just broken off.
Just shattered.
And I was like, no! We're like in the middle of tour, like,
Oh, no.
And I have no 3D printer, to print this part. But anyway, long story short, there's this amazing crew of magicians in the Twin Cities. Eagle, one of the magicians, Eagle, this guy, dude, amazing magician. He went into this university and 3D printed my part for me within half a day.
Wow.
And then delivered it to me at a Starbucks.
Wow.
And I was on the road, But since then, I've learned. It's like now I have multiple 3D printed parts in Ziploc bags, for instances like that. But yeah, it sucked, man. When it happened, I was full panic. You know how it is. I'm sure you were too at Masters of Illusion. You're just like, no.
It's a national TV show. Here I am. I don't have a backup. I don't have a way to repair it. And yeah, I remember after I got back from that trip, I got my first gray hair on my head. That's how stressed out. I mean, I never get. I never get gray hairs, but it literally gave me a gray hair. I was like so. Yeah. I was so messed up. Yeah, I was like, I thought I had it, and then electronics are very unforgiving when they break. Oh, yeah. It's just like it works or it doesn't.
I know, I learn it all the time. Definitely.
So, okay, well, that's it. Yeah, Marcel the monkey just coming to a crash and just kind of like, what is it? I had something crash. Actually, I had a Pyrex bowl I was using in the kitchen, and I'm a big fan of Pyrex. I prefer to use that over plastic. And I was washing it, and then en route from my sink to the shelf, it just slipped out of my hand, and it was like, it only dropped like 3 feet, but it fell in slow motion. You saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
And glass breaking is just not fun. So that's why I like plastic. I'm a big fan of plastic. Is there anything that you have ever created or an idea, it just like you had a happy accident? You created it by accident and then it just turned out to be like this amazing fixture in your show?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Yeah, I think that's like one of my favorite parts about, inventing stuff and creating and tinkering. I think it was Thomas Edison who said, all you need to invent, if you ever want to be an inventor, he said, all you need is a pile of junk and a great imagination, and like, you just don't know what'll happen,
Yeah.
So for me, I definitely I'm in this phase right now where like with these robots, like with Automabot, like all that Matrix stuff, a lot of it was experimental too. It was
so
like,
cool.
How do I get the jumbo coin on the mat? Like there were so many ways to do it. But like, what's the right way? And then like the ending with the mouth, like his mouth opens, there's a coin. That was a little kicker that came in last minute, These
Yeah.
kind of moments I live for. And I remember videoing that take when I did it, and I rewatched and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I could feel it in my bones. Like there's like an attitude with Automobot. His arms are out like this and he's like, what's up? You know, like I was just like, whoa, you know? So those are the moments I live for, you know, these accidental things like that all came organically, you know, all day I was programming and videoing. And that little mouth thing was that little kicker I needed. And once I accidentally stumbled on it, you feel it. You know how it is, Sean. You feel it. You know?
Yeah, I totally felt it. Like, because it's one of those unexpected like clown gags. It's like it's like the one thing that like pushes it over the edge. That puts the bow, that wraps the bow on the whole thing. Because it's one thing, you know, to do the effect, but then it's like the one little thing that just surprises. It's one last little surprise that makes everybody laugh and puts a smile on their face. Because it did with me. I was just like, oh, it kind of like, oh, and it is like a one little, you know, boop. So
yeah.
I love
that's
those.
what you were talking about earlier. Was like you're paying attention to details. You know, like that's what it. You know, and I'm trying to do that too. It's like I really want to pay attention to these small details. You know?
Very small, but extremely important.
Yes.
Like I think I think that your video would have gotten lots of views, but I think almost that bookend thing is like the one thing that just makes people so giddy with joy after watching it. They're like, I gotta share this thing. This is just so cute.
Yeah.
You know, because it's
so
cute.
Weird, like what the science is for that stuff. You just don't know. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy because like you don't intend to make a video to like, oh, this I'm making a video and it's gonna get a lot of views. Like it never works. You know, it's like, and look, that is my 6th robot video that I've done. You know, so like I've been experimenting over, and each robot video out of those 6, it take days to make, and I'm making it literally just for a 40-second experience, and then I'm taking it apart, using the same motors for the next project. You know.
Oh, that's interesting. So wait a minute. So the robot's doing different effects. I guess but it still has the same hands, right?
No. Automobot is the last robot from those 6 where it was like number 5. I was about to take him apart, and my heart crushed. Like I'm looking at this robot and I'm like, I can't do this. I have to order more motors and use him for another trick, you know?
Okay.
But everything else, like I have.
So we've talked about your accidents. We've kind of got introduced to Mario through his story with the humble beginnings as just designing these floral arrangements. Was that what inspired you to be a maker, or was it really your mom? Let's talk about that for a second, because we don't want to ignore the importance of a mom and a mom's input.
Yeah, no, I think with my mom just getting drawing, I don't know why. It's such when I told my mom that story, she's like, oh yeah, she didn't think much of it. It was more just like some activity that we did, but it was a sacred time for her too. You know, it was a special. But yeah, I think it's a mixture of everything. I think at the end of the day, we're all breathing and alive, and we have a story to tell. You know, and I really believe that like our life's journey is like discovering what our story is. You know, and the way that we discover who we are and why we're here is by chasing after the things that feel the deepest in our gut, things that we love so much. Maybe it's a song, or maybe it's something you read, like, or maybe it's a person you meet, but like there's something there, like, and that's been the journey for me. Like I accidentally fell into flowers, but I fell deeply in love with floral design. I wanted to learn how to design every kind of arrangement, you know, and playing music, you know, playing in a band, same thing. Like there's certain style of music that really at the core like gave me purpose and gave me identity and community. And from that style of music, you know, I fell into different art that I love, and it's reflected in my show today, years later. Like this is, you know, this is not just some crazy looking robot. This is my love for Ed Roth, Big Daddy, Rat Fink. This is my love for hot rod culture. This is my love for punk rock music. You know, like all this stuff coincides with my story kind of thing. And that's what I try to tell kids when I do lectures and stuff too. It's just like, if you're, you know, you have to have fun. Like the things that you're most excited about is when you're going to learn the most, you know? And so, yeah, I think it's about chasing the excitement and staying authentic, you know?
So yeah, it's basically like find your passion, follow your passion, chase that. And just like you know, you've taken all of these different things and you've combined them into one thing that you love. You have the making aspect, you have the punk rock music, and you combine it into one amazing product. And I think, you know, from a marketing standpoint, I think it's genius, you know, because it's not just the Mario magic show. It's not just a magic show. It's the punk rock magic show. It's punk rock magic party. And you know, on one hand, that might alienate a certain percentage of people, but then on the other hand, the people that have found you, the people that have fit into that niche market, man, they're just like, they're so happy that they found you. So like what I'm getting out of all of this is that your mother was okay with all the stuff that was going on, and she allowed you to develop these other aspects of yourself and to help you become who you are today. Am I correct with saying that?
Yeah, like there's core principles of everything that we do, you know? Like when you see a chaotic piece of robot, like from me, it looks messy and crazy, but all the bits in this robot in my Zoom show are core principles of ventriloquism, bits that are classic and timeless, that are that are guaranteed to work in every situation. So that's how everything is masked for me when I create. You know, it looks chaotic, but I'm always following these core principles. And it's same with my mom, you know, like, you know, these core principles of truth. You know, I a big part of life, you know, why we become magicians, performers, entertainers is to connect, you know, like that's the most important thing. Like, you know, when I talk about my Zoom lecture for magicians and stuff, I talk about three things: appreciation, positive interaction, and then comes your performance, you know? Like that appreciation in the beginning of your Zoom experience is so vital. Like we crave appreciation, you know, it doesn't matter how young or old you are, you know? And these are those core principles of truth I'm talking about. You have to understand these things if you want to connect with people, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of people in the world. They're all different, you know? And when you go at it with a grateful heart, like when you're going to connect more. And then when you connect more and you have a story to tell and you have a song to sing, they're going to hear it more, you know? Mm-hmm. And if they hear it more, you're going to have a greater experience. They're going to have a greater experience.
Yep.
And who is it? Like I always hear that with magic. It's like they don't remember what they saw. They don't remember what they heard, but they remember what they felt.
You know? The emotion.
And that's what my mom taught me, you know? She taught me about, you know, that the importance of these core principles of how to connect, you know?
I just wanted to put this out there because this happens all the time. You have people with parents that shut their dreams down. They shut their passions down. But if you're like me and Mario and you're lucky, we had a mother that supported our passions. And now look what became of it, you know? We have Mario, the maker magician. He wouldn't have been the way that he is right now if it wasn't for the support of his mother and if it wasn't for his mom allowing him to grow into that person. It's the same with me and same with my career. You know, lots of times I had people telling me, you know, figure it out yourself. Just do it yourself, right? But it's nice to have that support and backup from the mom. Okay, yeah, so is there any particular person that you would look up to in the maker space or the creative space that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, I look up to, you know, there's performers that I look up to, you know, there's artists that I look up to. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I look up to people like David Williamson, you know, and Kaplan, the great Kaplan, and like I look up to these people, Charlie Fry, you know, like, you know, we all are looking up to them, you know, because you know, these are the people at the top of our field. David Blaine, you know, like David Blaine changed my life, you know, like he, you know, and like we, you know, like just he's given my family so much, you know, and these kind of people you just don't forget, you know. The best thing you do is that you just send positive vibes and whatever you can, you know. But yeah, these kind of people, like, you know, working with David was a life-changing experience. Watching behind the scenes and how much work goes into things. Like, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. It's like, yeah, chase what's exciting you, but do the work, you know? It's like, you gotta do the work. It's hard. Like, right now, when I'm done with this when I'm done talking here, like I have a whole pile of mess downstairs with this robot that I'm working on a new routine, and it sucks. You know, like I'm not getting anywhere with it. But let me tell you something. I was in the same spot this time last week with that coin robot, and I'm so happy that I didn't give up. You would hear this frustration in my voice, like I didn't want to do it anymore because it was not working, you know. But I'm just saying, like, there's that thing that certain people that we look up to, that they have that thing where they just don't give up, you know. Like, and the more that you surround yourself around people like that, it's like gold. That's you. Money is not even worth that. Like it's priceless. So be around people that push you to be a better version of yourself, you know.
Yeah, because you can have all that money. You know, a lot of people say, oh, if I only had all this money just plopped in my lap, then I could do X, Y, and Z. But it's really not the money, because that money is going to go. Everybody says, and if you don't have that persistence and that drive, you won't even be able to get it back. And I'm willing to bet that these robots don't cost thousands of dollars. They're probably very cost effective to make, right? And it's just proof that it's not the piano that makes the musician. It's not the paintbrushes that make the painter. It's the artist. It's the person inside. It's what they do with those tools, and that's what you're just really great at.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing when I do lectures, I always say, like, you know, don't go, you know, I love the dealer's room, but like, it's a curse, you know. There's not going to be a trick that you're going to buy that's going to change your career. It's never. It's never going to be, you know, like. True. It's a painful realization.
So true.
You know, we chase after these things, but the truth is, it's like, if you really want something, you have to really, you gotta work till you don't want to work anymore, and you gotta work way past the time where where you're supposed to rest, you know, like so. Yeah. But that's part of the game, and that's part of the excitement, and that's what I try to teach my kids.
Any resources that people can learn more about this type of makering techniques, like servos, like what you're good at? If there are any resources that you'd like to recommend that you want to share with us? And and I even think you have a book or something. You mentioned a book, right? As well?
Yeah. So I'll give you a couple links. If you really are interested in making, you know, you can check out makershed.com. That's on, you know, check out makershed.com. They have a ton of resources there. If you go to mariothemagician.com, I have a whole pick place where I just hand-picked my favorite 3D printers, my favorite kits for all age kids, whatever ages they're in, of how to get into making and programming and tech. And also, if you really want to get into programming and magic, the Chomper Bot is a really fun way to do it. There's a lot of work went into this simple kit, but with all kinds of amazing stuff where you can build it, you get the reward of it coming to life, and you get to perform a magic trick with it. So that's on my website, mariothemagician.com or makershed.com. You'll see the Chomper Bot kit and my book, The Maker Magician's Handbook, which you'll find at both places too. And I hope to see you guys on Facebook and Instagram, Mario the Magician. Please keep in touch.
And do you do YouTube stuff?
Yeah, we have some. Yeah, basically Instagram, Facebook is what we have fun, and we're just tabbing into TikTok too. So if anyone wants to duet any of my robots, you're on like Donkey Kong. I'll see you on TikTok.
This was just an amazing opportunity to have a chance to interview you, Mario. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days and busy nights and many, many nights onto the next night and onto the next morning, creating and making. It's just been a blast having you.
Thanks so much for having me, Sean J. I'm a huge fan of yours. I love seeing you on television. I love the stuff you create. Thanks for having me.
We hope to see you in the next one. I hope you guys leave here feeling inspired and amused and amazed and just ready to go out and make something fun, make something exciting. So thanks again for joining us. I hope to see you in the next episode. Again, this is Sean J with Making Magic, my first episode, because we got the #1 right here, Mario the Maker Magician. I'm Sean J, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks. Okay. Pause right there. I have to turn off something that's on the stove. I put it on the stove.
This should be part of the show.
Oh, I'm gonna edit.
Totally be part of the show. Sean, go get that thing off the stove.
Hold on. I gotta turn it off. Cause there, I'll just turn it off. Okay.
That's dangerous.
I'm back. I'm setting a great example.
What are you cooking over there?
pizza, pasta. Now I'm, I don't know. I had something in a pan. I was trying to like heat up my dinner at the same time I was doing this interview. I'm kind of out of schedule today.
Totally be in the show. This should totally. You gotta edit this in.
Oh, I will edit it in, especially the.
Hilarious.
I like that. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. First episode. I love it. All right.